Welcome to the Builders of Authority podcast, a show committed to helping you build authority for your brand. In the realm of business and personal branding, authority stands as a cornerstone. Authority isn't built overnight, it's built over time. So join us as we build something remarkable together. And now, here's your host, Adam McChesney.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Builders of Authority podcast. Our title sponsor for the podcast is Go High Level, also known as GHL. GHL is the first ever all-in-one platform that gives you the tools, support, and resources you need to succeed and crush your marketing goals. Personally, I've used this software since 2020, and it's been a game changer for my business and our clients. If you're looking to level up your CRM and marketing game, then this is a great platform to use. You can find a link for a free and extended 30-day trial with tons of Builders of Authority bonuses in the show notes, so take advantage of the opportunity to adopt this amazing software and grow your business. Today, I'm joined by someone I've gotten the chance to get to know for the last year plus. We were connected last year by a mutual friend. My guest and his company throw a yearly event, which we'll dive into, called JobTread Connect, which is absolutely incredible. They were looking for speakers and sponsors. At the time, we had became a partner on their platform, sponsored the event, and then I had the opportunity to speak there as well. Hands down, one of the best thrown events I've ever been to. Just incredible speakers, incredible start to finish on the event. His team is absolutely amazing, and the attendees made it even that much better. What today's guest and his team have built with their software, the loyal community of the base of their customers and supporters in all things marketing branding, is nothing short of incredibly impressive. Today, I'm joined by Eric Fortenberry. He is the founder and CEO of JobTread. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam. That was quite the intro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Well, it's all well-deserved. I feel like I've obviously watched you guys for about the last year and a half plus, and I didn't really know about JobTread prior to that, but I feel like the last year and a half, you guys have just exploded and winning all these types of awards. You're doing incredible things. You're building your brand, and it's just amazing to see. So it's been awesome watching it. Super excited for you and super excited for this episode. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who Eric is and then how you kind of got to where you're at right now, and then we'll dive into JobTread.
Sure, man. Where to start? I guess we'll go with the quick 5-minute version. Grew up in Dallas, Texas. I did my undergrad at University of Texas at Austin, Hook 'em Horns. Ended up starting my first software company. I bootstrapped it out of a 5-bedroom house in Austin. Shortly after I graduated, I actually went and worked at a boutique investment bank for all of 9 months before I quit to start up that first company. We bootstrapped it in Austin, grew it there for, a couple of years. Then we ended up moving the company to Dallas. Essentially took this, it was a software for colleges and universities. We took it to like 650 universities in 13 countries, had over 20 million users on our site when we sold the business in 2015. It was after that I ended up taking over a buddy of mine's construction company. And, I saw firsthand the challenges that they were having scaling the business. And so he had asked me to come and help him figure out how to scale it. I was like, well, dude, you clearly just need some software. Like, let's figure out how to streamline these processes. All this paper that's just piling up, mounds and mounds of paper and, waiting for people to come in and approve things. And then, all the double, triple, I think I found one place, a quadruple data entry into a bunch of spreadsheets. Like, man, hold on, let me go find you something. So I looked at everything out there, but ultimately I struggled to make a recommendation for him because I felt like, it was either super antiquated or it was really expensive or, we just weren't going to be able to customize it to how we needed. And the owners are like, well, you're a software guy. Can't you just build us something? I was like, well, hold on, not trying to, take on a full-time job here or really even, give you guys something that you're going to have to maintain one day. And, ultimately though, I ended up, realizing that this is a huge opportunity. And, I agreed to essentially, do it, but, under a couple conditions. One, I was, going to take over as CEO, everything that I needed to do to right the ship, to hire, to fire, to put the right processes, systems in place. Like I had that ability. Two, I told him I'd give him 1 year of my time. Like I was going to show up every single day in the office, like undivided attention. Like I will be there. We will get this thing back on track. And three, everything I built was my intellectual property. So, again, I sort of went into this knowing that, if this has the potential to be my next software company, then I would have that option after 1 year. And, they agreed, made me partner, took over CEO. And I built JobTread out of a needs basis while running this construction company. And, essentially it really grew into everything that a jobs-based business. So if you're running construction jobs, if you're custom bidding, every single job, we wanted to help you with, starting off on the right foot. Let's get the budget built. What are all your costs? Know your numbers. let's accurately price your job using, our target profit margin, and then being able to operate and execute on the jobs, the scheduling, the job costing, managing all the invoicing, the bills, syncing it into QuickBooks. Like we essentially kind of built out this end-to-end solution. And so over the course of that year, I helped grow that business from 5 million in sales to 8 million, and we increased their gross profit by 43%. So I knew this was too good to leave sitting here with this one company. I saw the impact that I was able to make for them, but again, I wanted to take it to the next level. And so in 2019, recruited some of my developers, designers from my last company. They came on, rebuilt everything, did a much better job than I did, set it up to scale. And, we spent a couple of years building. And then, I think in 2021, we actually got out and started selling it. I think we got it to like 200 companies. 2022, we got to 1,000. Last year we ended at like 2,200. This year our goal is 4,000. We're already at like 3,800 active construction companies using the software. So, it really has kind of just exponentially grown on us. But, I think at the end of the day, we're just very passionate about, helping businesses to create more scalable systems, processes, ultimately to just build better businesses. And we believe when they have the right tools, the right processes, the right people, really anybody can be successful, but it does take, getting yourself set up for success to have that. And, our vision is just for JobTread to be the new standard for construction management. And, our goal is to get this into tens of thousands, eventually hundreds of thousands of construction companies' hands all across the world. And, we're just really excited to keep working with all of our partners, our customers, to make that vision become a reality.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear that story about how it got started and kind of the infancy of it to where it's all at today. Like I knew that story and most of it, but kind of hearing it again and picking apart the things that I think that resonate with your customer base is not only have you done it, seen it implemented, and like bootstrap built it out of another company, but one of the things that I think is like most admirable about what you guys are doing is you always have a pulse on the market, but not just like the market, but like what's most important to your customers.
Yeah.
So like your Facebook group is just absolutely incredible. The town halls you all do, the product updates and things like that. Like I feel like every time you guys announce one of those things, like people were like, oh yeah, I was thinking about this, or somebody has a suggestion and you're like, hey, it's on the roadmap right there. And so what would you say that has done for the exponential growth of just like being in the nitty gritty with your clients?
Yeah. I think we definitely did a good job of this at my last company. And I very much understand the value of, really listening to your customers, connecting with them, engaging with them. I mean, that's why we put on this huge event, JobTread Connect, every single year. We did that at the last company. Like there's just so much value when you can build those real personable relationships with your customers and you take their feedback and, you figure out how to make it actionable and then implement. And so, I remember early on we were like, well, should we create this Facebook group? Is anybody going to join it? It was, you always see a lot of groups, where sometimes it just turns into this like huge bash fest and it's all these complaints and, it's like, well, I don't know, we're still really early on. I know we got a lot more that we need to do. We need to implement, but I was just like, look, let's just do it. I think this is going to be a much better way for us to engage with our customers and to have those very, intentional, focused conversations about the product and the good, the bad, the ugly. And, we decided to do it. And, we promote that kind of within the application, as well as just, when people join, we make them aware of this group. And I mean, I think we're almost 4,000 members now. It's been really, really exciting to see how, it's grown. And I think that, we've also done a good job of really trying to sort of nurture it and make sure that it does stay positive, that it's a constructive, group for everybody. And really it's sort of gone beyond just JobTread. I mean, I love seeing other builders and contractors helping each other, with more than just how to implement the software or how to do the schedule or build a budget or proposal. It's, the strategy has started to come into play, which has been really, really exciting. And, I think a lot of people just, they're pretty blown away at how, responsive and engaged we are in the group, and me specifically, but like, I feel like that's one of the best ways that I've been able to keep a pulse on the market and on what our customers are saying and what they're, where they're getting hung up and what they're having to ask for help for. I mean, that like is such a great data point, and just such great insight for me. Now I will say that early on, yeah, it kind of got a little unwieldy, all of the feature requests and the ideas I was getting out of it. So we ended up creating this feature request board that lives within the JobTread app on our help desk. And so, instead of me kind of manually creating every single, feature request that I heard of, because again, it got super time consuming. We ended up opening that up for all of our users. And so now they can go in, they can see all the feature requests. They can, sort them by popularity. They can upvote them, or if something's not there and they got a new idea, they can create their own, and we do have an approval process where we review it, and then we approve them, and so now a lot of times when people are asking for things that don't exist, I can just say, hey, that's a great idea. I love hearing your thoughts on it. Here's the feature request to go, vote on it. Or, hey, would you mind creating a feature request? And so again, it's an actionable step that they can do. And then for us, that directly informs our development roadmap, because we see the things that are going to make the biggest impact on our customer base and on our users. And so that heavily goes into how we prioritize what we're going to build and what we're going to do with the product is based on their feedback. And so it's been a really great tool to kind of have that collaboration, if you will.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. Obviously, like I see it all happening in real time. But one of the things that I kind of just thought of as you were saying a lot of that stuff, and I am like honestly impressed by how it isn't like one of those crazy Facebook groups. Like it's software and technology where things can obviously always go wrong and people can be rogue. I wonder, and this is my question to you, is like, you guys have done such a good job at setting the standard and being there for your customers and listening and all those things. Obviously nothing is ever perfect, but like you see a lot of those other software groups or marketing groups or industry groups where there is a lot of negativity. Do you believe that the way in which you all operate into that standard helps form your community? Because even at your event, like I talked to so many people there and I'm like, these aren't your average contractors. Like they are a step above, which I thought was interesting and unique, but like any insight as far as like how you've been able to form that?
I think that, in regards to kind of the natural tendency for there to be, people when they're frustrated, they reach out, you always see all the negative reviews on products and companies that you're frustrated with. Like, it's like, where are all the positive reviews, right? Like, and so in the same token, like, people, when they're struggling with something, they go to a group, they want to reach out, they want to get help. And so I think the thing that like, that we've learned is like, it's just very important that people know that they're being heard. And so just by us, my team responding and saying, we hear you, maybe, hey, here's how to do it. Or, we hear you here, that's a great idea. There's a feature request. Like it gives people that avenue to kind of, express themselves, and just being heard is so important. I think when you start to see the negativity, and again, like in any group and in anything in life, right? Like if you feel like you're super frustrated by something and you can't, you can't get any action or get any info or get anything to happen, like it bottles up. And so by people being able to like, express that, it's I think very helpful. And obviously there have been times where people have, they kind of take an approach of like, I'm just super pissed off and I'm here to vent. And the interesting thing is like so many others in the community, they will chime in and respond and be like, like, hey, that's probably not a good way to approach it. Like, why don't you give, constructive feedback or criticism, but like, don't just sit here and complain, don't just like say that the company's not doing anything, because like they're listening and we are. And so, I feel like in a lot of the other groups where that starts to happen, you'll sort of notice that there's a lack of, kind of leadership from the organization. Yeah. And so people just feel like they're not being heard and nothing's getting done. For us, and again, like my co-founder and head of development, like he is like just the secret sauce behind all this. Like he is just an incredible developer. Like I'm so fortunate to have him as my business partner here. He is like really on it too, though. Like a lot of times he knows about issues before the customer even realizes what happened, or before the little error message pops up. And like, he has this innate ability to just so quickly switch context, figure something out, push out the fix and go right back to what he's doing. And so when bugs come up, which in all software, it's going to happen, luckily we, I think, have a lot fewer than most, but like he is on it. And we just are so responsive that I think that also like people see that, like we have, I don't know if we've ever even deleted a single post that someone else has created in our group. And it's even the things when people are like pointing out this big glaring issue, they see how quickly we respond to it. And I think that just further kind of shows them. And like, it was like Saturday morning, like we had pushed out something late Friday night, just some, kind of behind the scenes, update to some code package. And then like, there was this issue that like, it was just kind of this random, like, obscure, like some weird character was causing an issue. And like, they posted on there and like within minutes, we're like, okay, devs are on it. Yep. 15 minutes later, it's fixed, and like the people are like, this is why we chose JobTread. It's because they're able to see us working as hard as we can. And, we don't hide behind the things. I mean, I don't believe there's, such thing as perfect software or a magic bullet. We can always strive for that. And so just being real and being open and honest and, approachable, I think has been a really good play for us that I see a lot of companies don't necessarily do that.
Absolutely. And one of the things is like I've seen how active your team is and how helpful your team is. And I've talked and met with so many of your team members, especially at JobTread Connect, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, which is an amazing event. And if you're on the platform, you definitely need to go do it and show up to that event. But if you're not, definitely test out JobTread and then go to the event as well. But how has it been? I'm impressed by as well as like the quality of your team and the amazing people and like, they live out JobTread with what they do. And as you guys have scaled, like I can only imagine it gets harder and harder to continue doing that stuff. How have you continued to like find all those amazing people and create the culture you've built internally that then exudes to what you all do externally?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is just like, I mean, really a lot of kind of what I'll call sort of that core team. We've all worked together before. I mean, countless people here worked with me for, over a decade at the last company. Like, we have a very, very strong kind of core. My dad is our CFO. So I think, we kind of, for a second time now, he's my CFO at my last company. Like, so we kind of bring that family culture. It's a very, trusting, loving group that, we all work very hard, but we play hard. We like to celebrate our wins. And like, we view this as not just like a job. This isn't just your career. Like this is your life. This is a journey that we're all on together. And we want it to be enjoyable, rewarding, fun, as well as, prosperous and for everyone to do well. And so, I think that we have learned that you have to know what you're looking for, really clearly define the roles, the responsibilities, the positions that you want to bring on, have, your core values. Like what is your team about? What is your culture? Like, set that, expectation and allow others to see that, and so I think then it takes a lot of time. And Alex, my COO, I mean, he literally goes through every single applicant. We do have also another company that helps us a little bit with that, but like, he will literally have a meeting with every single person that we think, has, the potential to join us, kind of does that initial call. He really tries to explain to them, like, we are looking for the best of the best. This isn't like your typical company. Like, we only hire A players. And, if they're still interested at the end of that, like, then, we'll give them some sort of a case or exercise, and then we invite them to come in and they'll literally, present or do kind of whatever that is, like, to a group of us. I mean, me, Alex, kind of the heads of whatever area, like we involve other team members in these like group interviews, and we're trying to make sure that this person is, going to be a good fit with the company, with the culture, as well as they're going to be, extremely smart, hardworking, they're passionate. We want to find people that like, genuinely like want to do great things. And they believe in what we're doing. Like we in customer success and sales, like, we're in support. Like we try to hire people that have construction experience so they can empathize and they can relate and they know what our customers are going through. We don't have to train them on, how tough it is to build and manage a construction business because they have been in construction businesses. Like they get it, they understand it. A lot of them maybe have implemented JobTread before, like, but we're looking for those people and we spend a lot of time trying to make sure that we make the right hires, because again, one bad apple can spoil the entire apple cart. And so I think it's as my job, the number one most important thing I can do is make sure that I've built the best possible team that I can. And everything runs so much smoother and so much better, when you can get that team in place.
Yeah. I mean, you've done an incredible job and it's very impressive. Talk to us a little bit about JobTread Connect and what that is, and if people are interested, how they can find out about it. And obviously we'll finish up in show notes just about JobTread and all your links as well. But talk to us a little bit about the event coming up next year.
Yeah. So, what this is this is a user conference, and I would encourage, really any and all companies out there listening to us to think about how they could do something similar. It's a, it started off as a 2-day event. The first year we did it. So this will be our 3rd year doing it. It's now grown into a 3-day event, but the premise is that you're inviting your customers to come and learn and network and grow and just really kind of take a few days to whatever they can do to improve themselves and their business and their team and their processes. Like we spend a lot of time looking for and trying to curate this program. So this year is going to be our largest year. We're going to have over 50 ed sessions, where it's everything from, your JobTread basics, your boot camp type training to the more intermediate, advanced, as well as just other general business skills. I mean, sales. I mean, you did a talk on marketing last year, other things that are going to help them to better manage their operations and better grow their businesses. We want them to be able to get that. If you want to focus on financials, if you want to get a better handle on, knowing your numbers and managing your cash flow and, integrating with your accounting system and how to, set that up for success. Like there's a whole tract on that. If you're just looking to meet other businesses, people who are, have a similar business, they're in a similar position, it is a great way to network. We're very intentionally, and I think we may even kind of do like kind of assigned table lunches. We've got round table discussions that will be going on throughout the whole time. So we can make sure that we try to pair people up with who we think will be the best kind of, network for them to form. And ultimately, like what happened at the end of last JobTread Connect is people walked away and created their own ongoing roundtable groups where they were meeting like every other week. And they've been doing it ever since. And it's just so awesome to see those connections form. And I feel like, even if you just wanted to come for the networking, to be able to meet people who, they're not in your local area, they're not your direct competitors, they're same type business, whether you're a remodeler, a home builder, a pool builder, a deck builder, whatever you're building, you can meet others who have, either going through those same challenges or they've already been through those challenges, it's just a great way to collaborate. And so we want to, contribute this, what we view as kind of this educational opportunity to the industry. And I mean, this year, I think we're prepared. We're going to spend over, $750,000 on this event. Our sole goal is to just break even, or not lose too much money. We're very fortunate that we've got a lot of sponsors that help put on this event for us. And, we just want to keep the cost for the tickets as affordable as we possibly can. And, I think it's just an awesome opportunity for people to come out and, again, invest in themselves, invest in their team, invest in their learning, their tools, technology. So we're really excited and passionate about that.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was one of the best events I've ever been to, from the organization of it, from how well you guys took care of the speakers and sponsors, and then really just the networking aspect. I think for people that attend that event, like a lot of times you go to conferences and you're like, I don't know if there are people that like truly understand what I'm going through, but there was like, you could see it happening at the event where people were like, things were just clicking immediately in conversations and things like that because they met the right person, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I've been using JobTread for a while, or I'm just getting started, or I'm in this industry. Because obviously, like, you guys do work with a lot of different industries. So pool builders are syncing up, and then design build people, and then all these things are just happening. And it's cool to see. It was cool to see that progress, and I know it'll happen again this year.
Yeah, I'm a big believer. Like, we don't have to solve all of the problems anymore. Like, all I got to do is get all the right people around the table and facilitate these collaborations. And at the, one of my big sayings is like, may the best idea always win. We don't care where it came from, who came up with it. I always challenge people to push back on my ideas, because like, it doesn't matter who came up with it. Like, may the best idea always win. And when you get all the right people in the room, around the table, passionate and focused on the same things, like, it fuels us. It fuels my entire team. Like, every single person in the company will be out of the office at that event, spending time talking to our customers, learning, sharing, helping each other out. And it's just such a cool thing to see how we can build this community together.
Absolutely. It really is. Well, Eric, this has been an incredible episode, man. I just enjoyed chatting with people like yourself. I've been a huge fan, and appreciate what you do for business owners, what you do to just like lead the way in entrepreneurship, man. And it's been awesome watching the journey. I'm excited to continue seeing all this stuff, excited to continue watching you all and see JobTread grow and come to the event in January. Where can people stay connected with you and learn more about JobTread? We'll put all that stuff in the show notes.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously there's a ton of information on our website, jobtread.com. Our YouTube channel, I think we got like maybe 300 or 400, videos on there. Super informative, lots of great content. The Builder Stories podcast that I hope that I host is also a great opportunity to learn from other, business owners and entrepreneurs. I'm super big on Facebook, so please connect with me, reach out to me, send me a friend request. Like, I'm always happy to connect and chat. Obviously our JobTread Facebook group is another great place to join and learn. But look, one thing I wanted to share. I mean, Adam, like I'm just so impressed by the work that you're doing, and I got to say, like I've learned a lot from seeing how you're building, your community and how you have, just really embraced the, let's get out there. You're on camera, you're putting out great content. Like, you invest a lot into building your brand and trying to, again, it's not just like, fluffy content. It's like educational. And I really respect that. And I think that everyone should be taking notes from what you're doing, because I know I certainly have. Again, having the courage to create my own podcast like a year ago was like a huge step forward for us, and it's paid dividends, beyond belief for us now. So like, I encourage people to do that. Like, don't be scared to get behind, the camera and record videos. I mean, we see how you do it every single day, and I think that it's really great lessons for people to take note of and to learn. So I appreciate what you're doing. I know sometimes it can be a thankless job, just doing all that effort and work, but it definitely, it's noticed, and it's motivating and inspiring to others.
Well, man, I really appreciate that, especially coming from yourself. So thank you very much. It definitely means the world. So thank you.
Yep, absolutely, man.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again, and looking forward to seeing you here in person soon. Thank you again to the audience for listening to today's episode, and for our title sponsor, Go High Level. Without them, we're not able to produce the quality of content or have amazing guests like we did today with Eric. Check out everything in the show notes for a free and extended 30-day trial, and check out everything in the show notes to stay connected with Eric, learn more about JobTread and JobTread Connect. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review as well. We're making a big push for reviews, and it definitely helps move the needle. And remember, authority isn't built overnight, it's built over time.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get notifications as new episodes become available. If you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. We sure do appreciate it. Until next time, friends.